Welcome to the Diversity Connector podcast, where we explore the rich tapestry of human experiences. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and together as we dive into conversations that bridge cultures, challenge stereotypes, and celebrate the unique perspectives each of us brings to the table. Each episode is a journey through stories and insights from a kaleidoscope of voices, each sharing their colorful narrative. Whether you're at home, on the go, or just anywhere in between, you're now part of a community that values understanding, inclusivity, and the beauty of diversity. So plug in your headphones, get comfortable, and let's connect through the power of our shared stories. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Diversity Connector podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lital Sherman. Where I'm based, actually, at the moment, I'm traveling around Asia. So at this moment, I'm based in Bangkok, but tomorrow I'll be based in a different place. So I was actually born in Israel, and I was raised there. 10 years ago, I moved to beautiful Melbourne in Australia. And it was really because I kind of realized that Israel is a difficult place to live in, even though I do have a lot of emotional connection to the country. It's not a place that I wanted to live in anymore. And probably a lot of people know that with the current situation, it is quite a difficult area to live in. And I'm not going to get into politics. I have a lot of opinions. And I can share one of my opinions, which is basically that there are always two sides to every story. And there are people suffering in both sides, and we should do everything to end the suffering of the terrible war, not just in the Middle East, but really across the entire world. And unfortunately, there are wars everywhere that a lot of people are not aware of at all, because it's not, it doesn't impact us. But long story short, I'll go back to what I said before. I realized that Israel is a difficult place for me to live in and decided to move to Australia. Luckily for me, my sister was already based there, so it was quite, an easier journey for me to move to Australia. So I'm a designer. That's kind of my my profession, what I've done for the last 17 years. So I moved to Australia and started, looked for a job. How I can get into the industry, and I was quite lucky to get a company to sponsor me and give me a working visa. And this is where I would say probably my first job in Australia, when I really got deep into the diversity and inclusion side of things. And I would say also being in tech. So I worked in the tech industry. Gone into, let's say, a scale-up, which is basically a startup that got a lot of investment, right? So the company in a position to really grow. And I was the first hire, the first designer that was hired for the company. And I really wanted to make sure that, first of all, the product that is being designed is being considered for all genders. It was mainly that, but really all demographic of people, young people and older demographic as well. And how can we make sure that we really, who are we trying to sell to, and who is our user base, and how can we make sure that everyone feels comfortable when we design. So that was really the first thing for me with kind of diversity and inclusion. I would say as designer, as UX designer or product designer, this is something that is really, really important to a lot of people, and something that is being invested a lot in the, for the industry of design in, I would say probably in the last kind of 5 years, it became really a thing. So we have terms like inclusive design, really making sure that we are including everyone in our design. Which I'm really, really happy about, really to see kind of the change of the industry and to see the change of designer in general. After I left my first job, it was 3 years, I worked there and I moved to a different job, which I was the head of design and research. So really I had the responsibility to not just think about the customers that we're selling to or the users that are using the product, but actually how can I build a really great diverse team. That was my biggest passion there. So I had a team of 10 people, and my goal was to have the most diverse team that I can possibly have. And I really believe that diversity is a key to create a really, really good team, right? So if we have like a variety of opinions and ways of thinking and experiences and backgrounds, we can really make sure that we design the best experiences for everyone. And again, best experiences, it means to our employees, I would say, honestly, first of all, as a manager, I can say that my employees or the people I'm leading are the most important people that I need to take care of. Also, of course, our clients, our peers, and overall, like the people that we're trying to impact and ideally our society in general. So that was really my goal. So I built as much as possible a very diverse team with gender, with background, with ages as well, and different experiences. From very, very senior people that have a lot of experience to graduates that just finished a course. We also had someone that actually never studied design, but we took a chance on her and really wanted to build her capabilities. So for me, this was great. We had a team when people could learn from each other. We were catching up a lot. Obviously, we had the pandemic when all of us worked remotely, which was also great because then was the ability for us to actually have people from other sides of the world. So we had a team in Melbourne, we had a team in Manila, we had then people in Dublin as well, and it was wonderful experience to lead a team of a lot of diversity and also making sure that every single one of them feels included, feels like their voice is being heard, feels like what they do matters to the company and to our clients and our end users as well. So that was wonderful. At some point, and I think especially during the pandemic when I've seen how much, unfortunately, the lockdowns that we had in Melbourne and a lot of what happened during the pandemic really impacted a lot of people. Unfortunately, mainly women. They're the main caregivers in many families, so they struggled a lot. And I saw it at the workplace. So one thing that I was really passionate about is to support those women and first of all, make sure that they get the support that they need from the company, but also have a space for them to come together and talk about issues that they're struggling with and understand that they're not alone. I think that's the most important thing that I felt like, we're maybe not all in this together, but a lot of us are in this together. Can we support each other? Can we help each other in whatever way, even just having a conversation, just having an online, coffee catch up, maybe offer some ideas, some whatever support that we can have. Maybe someone has a project and she doesn't have the capacity to do it because, she has 3 kids at home and she needs to support them. Maybe someone else can jump in and support. So we had something that I kind of created an ERG for women, and really the goal was to have all women who wanted to join. Of course, it wasn't compulsory to anyone, but women from different parts of the business to come together and share some ideas. And each time we had the session, we wanted to talk about whatever, subject that sometimes it was subjects that I created and sometimes it was subjects that people voted for. And a lot of that was also how can we progress in our career, especially when we work from home. And it's quite difficult, I think, to really demonstrate some capabilities. And I would say, again, especially for women that been kind of socialized to be more humble and more quiet and not to push a lot and, not to go and ask for things. So that's something that I was very passionate about, and probably till today it's my biggest passion, to support women to to ask for what they want and what they need, and not to shy, not to try just to make everyone comfortable, but first of all to make themselves comfortable. So something I've done a lot in the last few years, during through the ERG, also mentoring, especially younger designer that just kind of joined the industry, or had a career change, and moved to UX, and which is not the easiest thing, kind of to find your new job, but also sometimes help find the first job, and sometimes women that just wanted, how can I go from mid-level to a senior level? How can I jump into a management role? I don't have the confidence. It's mainly a confidence issue. I don't know if I can ask for this salary, but this is what I want. So a lot of the work I was doing, and still doing, though now when I'm traveling, it's not as easy, is really to support those women in, building this confidence, believing in themselves, knowing that they can really achieve whatever they want if they believe in themselves. And if they can't achieve it, at least they tried, right? So for me, trying is really the most important thing, putting ourselves out there, stepping out of our comfort zone, and try to, chase our dreams. Maybe first understand what the dreams are. So I would, maybe finish with saying that I left my job at some point because I realized that, for me, I progressed a lot in my career and moved up kind of the seniority chain. And I realized that I wasn't happy anymore because I was no longer really doing the work that I was passionate about. A lot of the work was, being in the political game, which is really not what I'm passionate about. I am quite good at it. I can argue a lot. Maybe that's about me, being born in Israel. We're all trained to argue and argue and argue. But I realized that it's not what I want to do anymore. So I left it. And now I'm traveling and really doing my, maybe let's call it midlife crisis or spiritual crisis, and finding my meaning and my happiness again. And it's going great. I've been traveling for 6 months so far. I love it.
That is absolutely wonderful. So, Lital, can you share the evolution of your career as a product and design leader, and what inspired you to focus on human-centric design practices?
I studied graphic design and kind of interaction design, and I've done that for a few years, which was great, and I love doing it. And even then, I worked in advertising as my first job after uni, and I always had the connection with the clients. Talk with the clients, really understand what they're trying to achieve. Not so much with the actual users, unfortunately. And then I kind of discovered UX and UI. It was like a new thing when, I started my career, and was like, oh, that's really interesting. Let's dig into that a little bit. So I moved to a different place where I had the opportunity to actually, understand a little bit about UX, study a little bit about, learn a little bit about UX from my manager. And it was fascinating. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. We actually design things without knowing at all if they resonate with the customer, what they want to do. Sometimes we just put something because it looks pretty. Yes. But if users cannot achieve what they wanted to achieve, it doesn't matter if it's pretty or not, right? It's like, I'm here to do something. I have a goal when I enter your website. No one is going there because they're bored. So, if they want to do something and they can't do it very, very quickly, they will leave and they go to a competitor. the last few years I actually worked in B2B, which is business to business, and the users, the people that are using the system, are usually not the people that are making the decision on actually buying the software, which can be super frustrating for them, because someone will buy because of whatever financial reasons. They will decide to buy it, and then they'll hand it over to employees and say, now you need to use it. And sometimes they're so frustrated, and a lot of the companies, they don't prioritize the users, because they're not the people that pay for for the software. So for me, especially when I worked in B2B, I said, this is my responsibility. If people from sales, from marketing, all of that, you don't prioritize the users because you need to get money, and I get it, but that's my job. My job is to make sure that the user that is using the system has the best experience that they can possibly have, with the limitation, of course, of the business and tech and so on. So yeah, I think it's very satisfying, I have to say, when you design something and you get this amazing feedback that people are they're so happy to do it, say, oh, that's great, I could really achieve what I wanted to achieve here. Yeah.
So, how does your approach to starting with exploration shape your leadership style and the way you engage with new teams or organizations?
So I like to have conversations with people and really understand what drives them, right?
Yes.
So for me, let's say if I'm hiring a new person, my interview with them will be a discussion, basically like we have now. I want to learn from you what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, what are your career goals, where do you want to be, why do you want to do that?
Okay.
So how I can lead them, if it's like for someone to join to the team, how I can lead them, and how can the team in general. I would say, as a team leader, it doesn't mean that I'm the only person that lead the team. So we all
Yes.
kind of lead each other, and we all learn from each other. I think for me, humility and kindness is probably the most important thing. And the humility is not about saying, oh, I'm not, I mean, I really think people should build the confidence in like believing in what they do, but also say, I don't know everything, and be open to get feedback. And if someone says, look, that's not the best solution, just say,
Yes.
okay, great, let's find something else.
Yeah.
Not being driven so much by their ego. I think that's something that is quite difficult in today's world, especially when you work in software, and honestly, a lot of designers. They are, I think one of the biggest lessons, or like the most, one thing that I remember from university that one of my professors told me, never fall in love with your designs. They're not for you. Said like, your
Yes.
designs are not. And it's like, yes, that is so
Yes.
right.
Yeah. So, what strategies do you employ to build strong, diverse teams? And how do you access cultural add during hiring?
Mm, So I would say, first of all, it's never just my decision to make. So
Mhm.
I will have well, most likely I will have the first conversation, or I would say the person that is going to be the manager, not necessarily
Mhm.
me, because my last job I was a manager of managers. So
Okay.
I would always want the hiring manager to have the first conversation with the person, and really see if this person is the right add to the team, because a lot of that will be based on personality, but
Mhm.
also on skills, right? So if now we really need someone to be really good at visuals, we need to find a person that have those
Yes,
skills,
the skills.
or someone very senior, or whatever it is. So that will be the first thing, and then bring different people from the team, not just designers, actually, a product manager or a tech lead, and see that those people can actually work together, that they have a good conversation, that they
Mhm.
feel like they can support each other.
Yeah.
And then we'll decide together,
Yes.
is that the right person? And, we'll have usually two or three people that we really like, and we will have a conversation. Okay, what, the the benefits of each one of them and what will be the best add to the team. And again, the add will be a cultural add, it will be skills add, strength in whatever it is. And we
Yes.
also take under consideration that not all, I mean, there is never the perfect candidate, right? If we need someone and someone is great in one thing, but potentially they don't have something like a different skill, we'll also say, okay, can we upskill them here? Do we
Yeah.
have the capacity to teach them something that maybe they're not as strong in?
Okay.
And so for me, it's also, so again, it's like having different people involved. This is where, the diversity of opinions come as well. It's not just my
Yeah.
opinion. And what do we need, right? Like what is missing in the team, or what is not as strong in the team that we can add to the team from, again, personality or strength that is more like people skills. I really don't like the word soft skills. I think those skills are not soft at all. They're very difficult.
Yes.
Um, but what are the people skills? And a lot of the time it will be, more leadership, more mentoring,
Mm-hmm.
always room for mentoring. Can we have someone that is really good at doing that, that can spend, I don't know, 10-20% of their time supporting other people in the team, people that love doing that, they love teaching. For me,
Yeah.
it's really, again, it's really important.
Okay.
Um,
Can you describe the ways in which you foster an inclusive and collaborative culture within your teams?
mm, yeah, I would say it's really building trust between everyone. I think
Mm-hmm.
again, for me, it's really important. And what I said about kind of humility and kindness obviously
Yes.
starts from me. So
Yeah.
if I don't have the humility, and honestly, I don't have it all the time, and
Yeah.
sometimes I will not have it. I think for me, it's really also making sure that if I've done something wrong, I will go and apologize when I realize that. Apologizing for me, it's really one of the strongest things we can do as
Yeah.
human beings in general and as leaders, and not say, oh, I'm a leader, I should not apologize. Like, I never make mistake. Of course I make mistakes. So I
Yes.
think for me, when people see that I say, you know what, it's my bad, I made a mistake, I'm
Okay.
really sorry I've done it,
Yes.
I think people appreciate it. They say, okay, she can make a mistake, I can make a mistake as well. She's
Yeah.
taking accountability for what. Yeah.
Mm.
So and also telling people, please, so first of all, asking for feedback, really asking people, okay, tell me what I can do better as your manager. How can I lead you better? What is one thing that I can start doing? What is one thing I can stop doing? And so really support this feedback culture, in a
Yeah.
kind way. But really have this open conversation as much as possible within the team. Whether it's one-on-one or in a team, like a group situation as well.
Yeah. So, how do you integrate your advocacy for diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging in your design and research work?
Mm. So I'd say starting from research, really trying as much as possible. Well, first of all, to understand, so the research is like, what is the cohort of the research? Who are we trying to research here? Having some sort of, I would say, first of all, for me, it's usually no demographic. Depends
Right.
really on the product, but it's more about behavioral tendencies. So
Mm-hmm.
first of all, not put people in buckets based on demographics, saying women are like that and men are like that and Gen X are like that and Gen Y are like, because it's not true.
Yeah.
um, and I think this is what kind of put us in like really problematic situation when we just put people in those buckets. So
Yeah.
understand behavior of people and put them in buckets based on their behavior regardless of the demographic. And then when we know what the behavior we're looking for, then we can you know build kind of a diverse group of participants
Mhm.
based on the different demographics. So ideally different backgrounds, different genders, different ages and abilities, and so on. So yeah, kind of that will be kind of my goal. Sometimes it's
Okay.
impossible, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you leverage your knowledge and experience to empower others, particularly women in the design community?
how do I empower them?
Yes.
It's a good question. I tell them you can do everything. um, So I would say in the last few years I had a lot of like speaking kind of opportunities in whether meetups or conferences, and I try to talk a lot about that. Like it depends. Some of those events were specifically for women in product or women in design or like ladies that UX and stuff like that. And during those conversations, I do talk specifically. Some of the talk will be some points specifically for women.
Right.
I also don't want to do something. This is just for women. Men, you shouldn't be involved because, of course, not all women don't have confidence, and not all men do have confidence, and so on. I don't want to again
Yes.
put people in bucket.
Mhm.
But it is definitely my passion to support women, and so yeah, during kind of the talks that I give, or during whatever engagement that I have, to say, well, first of all, I'm here. If you want to reach out, please reach out to me. I'm always
Yes.
happy to have a conversation and give you some points. um, and yeah, and really try to tell women, look, no one is perfect. Like, just believe in your, like, it's not easy to, it's easy to say, not so much easy to do, but if you
Yeah.
start by believing in yourself and work on that,
Yes.
yeah, you can achieve great things.
Easy. So, as an ever learning individual, what recent learning or experience significantly impacted your professional approach?
Wow, I've learned a few things. So in the last 6 months, I traveled mostly in India. Like I said, I'm in Thailand now, but in India, actually, the first thing I've done was a Buddhist retreat, 1 month Buddhist retreat.
Hey,
Uh, it was just incredible. So it was a lot of meditation and a lot of Buddhist philosophy.
right.
So for the first 3 weeks, we were in silent, right? So outside of the class, we were able to speak in the class, but outside of the class, during, meals and so on, we were not supposed to speak to each other. And we did not have phone or computer, which is
Oh
like,
gosh.
wow.
For three
But
weeks.
for 3 weeks, yeah.
Wow.
And it was actually incredible. Like after a couple of days, it was so freeing, to like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't need to be dependent on technology. I don't need to
Yes.
know everything that is going on. I can just be with myself. I read 4 books during this time, all about
Wow.
uh, Buddhism. We had a library there,
Okay.
and it was, sorry.
I said, wow, I'm just so impressed.
And really during this time, I journaled a lot, like basically every day. I wrote so many things, and it was incredible, and it was horrifying sometimes. Some moments I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. I want to go back to Australia. I want to sleep in my own bed. And sometimes I was sitting there, it's like, this is the most beautiful moment of my life.
Oh, wow.
So I think a lot, honestly, for me, it was being able to just sit with myself and have emotions, and like, okay, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Like, you can do everything. You're
Yes.
like, so I think that, and honestly, with Buddhism, that I kind of started to get into in the last probably year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of realizing that acceptance and kindness and compassion are probably the most important things,
Mm.
and it will make us happy which obviously include compassion to ourselves. I would say
Yeah.
probably the first thing. But if we accept ourselves, it will be easier for us to accept others, and we're compassionate to ourselves, it will be easier for us to be compassionate to others.
Yes.
And also and yeah, and adopt those things. We don't have to love everyone or to like everyone, but we can
Yeah.
still accept
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. That's so true. So, looking
Mm.
ahead, what are your aspirations for the future of design leadership, especially in terms of integrating DEI principles?
So look, the industry now is in a problematic place. Like, unfortunately, a lot of industries still not recovered from the pandemic. A lot of people lost their jobs, unfortunately. I think that, in a lot of places, DE&I is kind of put on the shelf, kind of,
Yes.
for now, which is really unfortunate because
Mhm.
I think it should be integrated in everything in the
Yeah.
business. But it also gives, the industry an opportunity to maybe pause for a minute and say, okay, now we have maybe a bit more kind of time to think, okay, who do we want to be? What do we want to do? And for me, really, I think design, and especially design leaders that work in the industry for a while, they have experience. I know so many amazing design leaders,
Mhm.
and I think we kind of, they have the capabilities of really integrating D&I into the design from the very first step of
Okay.
everything, of
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
of research, of building a product, of understanding what is their unique value proposition, what are we trying to achieve here, what are we
Right.
doing, how can we change society for the better.
Right.
um, it's not going to be that easy. There are a lot of people that won't buy into that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think that's something the designers really have, the skills to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your wisdom with us today. Absolutely
Thank you.
fascinating to see you in action on a quest to find yourself by the sound of it. Good luck with that. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Diversity Connector is bringing us voices from all over the world, looking at life from different perspectives and celebrating our diversity. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Lital, thank you again for the interview.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
And that's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant and global conversation. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you've heard today is a thread in the larger fabric of our shared humanity. So, as you step back into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Do follow us on social media by looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep listening, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast signing off. Stay curious, stay open,